Welcome in, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you enjoyed the NBA Finals Game 5 as much as I did. So, we have a new NBA champion. The 2026 NBA champions are the New York Knicks. After their win in Game 5, they are the NBA champions for 2026. So today, I'm just going to give my take and reaction to NBA Finals Game 5. Um, we're going to take a look and talk about the NBA Finals MVP. And I'm just going to share some other thoughts and takes that I have from the NBA Finals. So we got some really good stuff to talk about. Before we do jump into that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to your life. So if you do find value in this video, go ahead, hit that subscribe button so that I can continue making these videos. Also, hit that like button and make some comments on your reaction to the NBA Finals Game 5, the new NBA champs, and anything else you want to share. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Going into Game 5, the New York Knicks had a 3-1 series lead. Game 5, they were shifting back to San Antonio. So it was definitely an interesting game to look forward to. Are the Spurs gonna get a win at home and make the series very, very interesting? Or are the New York Knicks going to get another road win in San Antonio and close out the series and become NBA champs? So the latter of those two happened. So the New York Knicks defeated the San Antonio Spurs 94-90 in Game 5 on Saturday to clinch the NBA championship. They win the series 4-1. The Knicks captured their first NBA title in 53 years. The last one was in 1973. And Jalen Brunson put together a legendary closeout performance, scoring a Knicks finals record 45 points, and was named NBA Finals MVP. So the New York Knicks get their championship that they've been waiting for 53 years. And it was really amazing to see that. I was rooting for the New York Knicks in the finals. So I was definitely happy to see them win. And I think they were definitely the better team. So let's just do a little game summary. Following the script of the entire series, the Spurs jumped out to a double digit lead in the first quarter. San Antonio held a 10-point advantage after the first period and extended it to as many as 16 points in the second quarter. So, pretty much like it's been happening with all the other games, the Spurs looked really good in the first half. They get a double digit lead and they look unbeatable. And Victor Wembanyama anchored a historic defensive effort early. He had 5 blocked shots in the first half while holding the New York Knicks to just 37 points, their lowest scoring half of the postseason. So this was a very, very low scoring game. In the first half, I believe the score was 47-37. And the Spurs were definitely a lot better than the Knicks in the first half. However, the Knicks stayed resilient, like with all the other games, despite poor overall team shooting, 35% from the field, and severe foul trouble for Carl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby. Brunson carried the Knicks back into the game. New York chipped away to trail by just 5 points at halftime and entered the fourth quarter down 72 to 65. So going into the fourth quarter, it was just a 7 point game. I mentioned earlier that the Spurs were up by as much as 16. So just like with all the other games, in the third quarter, they chipped away at the lead. And then heading into the fourth quarter, the New York Knicks gave themselves a chance to win the game. And in the final period, Brunson took over completely, scoring 15 of his 45 points. A crucial 10-0 run by the Knicks tied the game at 83 apiece with under 5 minutes to play. Brunson then scored 13 consecutive points for New York down the stretch to anchor the lead. And in the final seconds, trailing by 4, the Spurs had a chance, but Wembanyama missed a desperation three-pointer, and OG Anunoby secured the final rebound to end the 50-year title drought. So just another amazing game in the NBA Finals. Another huge comeback by the New York Knicks. They play poorly in the first half. The Spurs look dominant. We get to the third quarter. The Knicks chip away at the lead, give themselves a chance going into the fourth, and they take over in the fourth and win the game. So great job by the Knicks. Congratulations to them. They definitely deserve the win. Um, this series was very volatile. The teams played very good at certain quarters, very bad in certain on other quarters. So it was an emotional roller coaster for sure as a fan, and there was a lot of drama in the series. So another amazing NBA Finals, and that's why we watch. So amazing finals. I'm a little sad that the NBA season is over, but it's gotta end at some point. So just some of the numbers for the main guys, the top performers. Jalen Brunson, 45 points. He was 14 for 27 from the field. He was 13 for 15 from the free throw line. So his best performance in the finals. He's the only Nick to score over 40 points in the NBA Finals. He's got that record. Mikal Bridges also had a solid game, 14 points. Josh Hart had 13 points, 11 rebounds. He was 3 for 6 from the 3 point line. So he made some critical 3 pointers earlier in the game to keep the Knicks afloat and competitive in the first half. On the other side, the two guys that stood out were Dylan Harper, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists coming off the bench. And Wembanyama didn't have his best game. He only had 19 points. He did have 14 rebounds, 5 blocks. So good numbers for all the main stars. So Victor Wembanyama, he always has a good first half. He had 5 blocks. He was scoring. But then we get to the second half, and he's just a different player. The fatigue kicks in, and he's just not able to perform the way he is able to perform in the first half. So, kind of a disappointing performance in Game 5 for Wembanyama, but he definitely grew a lot in this series. He got a lot of experience. He learned a lot, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NBA for the next 2 decades. All right. So that's pretty much the game summary. So next, let's just talk a little bit about the NBA Finals MVP. Jalen Brunson captured the 2026 Bill Russell NBA Finals MVP award after leading the New York Knicks to a 4-1 series victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Over the 5 games in the NBA Finals, Brunson averaged an outstanding 32.6 points, 4.6 assists, and 4.2 rebounds, orchestrating clutch fourth quarter rallies to secure New York's first championship in 53 years. So, those are really good numbers. He was definitely the top scorer in the finals for both teams. And with that game five, 45-point performance, he definitely clinched the NBA Finals MVP award. And there was no doubt about that. So, just a little bit of game by game summary in each of the 5 games. So, game one in San Antonio, Brunson set an aggressive and relentless tone to open up the series on the road. Um, he wasn't the most efficient in that game just because San Antonio's perimeter defense was really good, but he willed his way to 30 points, stepping up in the fourth quarter to pull away. Then we get to game two, second game in San Antonio, and Brunson suffered his worst shooting night of the finals, hitting just 28% of his field goals. However, he played pretty good defense where he had 5 steals in game two. So, game two was a poor shooting performance, but down the stretch, he was really good and poised, and he got the 2-0 series lead for the Knicks. So Karl Anthony Towns was playing really well in those first 2 games as well. So there was a little bit of a battle there for who might be the NBA Finals MVP after those 2 games. So it was pretty close at that point. We get to game three, we go back to New York. Brunson found his rhythm from deep. He was 60% from three. He battled severe foul trouble and finished with 5 personal fouls, which disrupted his aggressive driving lanes late in the game as San Antonio handed New York their only loss of the series. And we get to game four, again in New York. This was the game where the Knicks had a 29-point comeback victory. Brunson authored a masterful performance to fuel that 29-point comeback. Um, he paced the offense with 36 points and 7 assists, completely breaking down the Spurs' defense. And we get to game five, yesterday's game. The Knicks offense was struggling for the first 3 quarters. And in the ultimate closeout game, Brunson put together a legacy defining performance on a painful foot after landing awkwardly on Victor Wembanyama. He scored a Knicks finals record 45 points, including 15 in the fourth quarter and 13 consecutive points down the final stretch to secure the championship. So he is the most clutch player in the NBA. When the fourth quarter comes around, he's just the best. And just to kind of summarize again, he had 30 points in game one, 20 points in game two, 32 points in game three, 36 points in game four, and 45 points in game five. So Amazing performance by Jalen Brunson. He gets his NBA championship, he gets his NBA Finals MVP, and he's going to be a New York Knicks legend forever. He's a New York king forever, and just an amazing performance by him. He's one of the shorter players in the NBA. He's not that athletic, but he's very strong and sturdy. He has amazing footwork, and he just uses his body incredibly well to separate from defenders, to create space. And he's just really a one of a kind player. He shoots really well. He's an amazing leader. So, just an amazing performance by Jalen Brunson um, from his career with the Dallas Mavericks, where he wasn't really able to shine. He goes to the New York Knicks. He becomes a superstar and now wins an NBA title and a finals MVP. So, just an amazing journey for Jalen Brunson. And there's a lot more to come from him. So, just some other thoughts that I wanted to share as far as the NBA Finals and the winners this decade relative to other decades, and the fact that in the last 7 years or so, like in this decade, we haven't had a back to back champion. Every year, we've had a different NBA champion versus other decades where we had back to back champions and dynasties. So, for example, in the 1990s, we all know that the biggest dynasty during that decade was the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. They won 3 years in a row: 1991, 1992, 1993, and then later again 1996, 97, and 98. So in the 90s, the Bulls three-peated two different times, and they were definitely the biggest dynasty in that decade. And then we got to the 2000s, and definitely in the 2000s, the two biggest dynasties were the Los Angeles Lakers and San Antonio Spurs. So the Lakers were three-peat champions in 2000, 2001, and 2002. The San Antonio Spurs didn't win back-to-back years, but they won multiple times in '03, '05, and '07. And then the Lakers were back-to-back champs in '09 and 2010. So the two biggest dynasties, again, in the 2000s were the Lakers and Spurs. And in the 2010s, um, the initial dynasty was the Miami Heat with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. They went to the finals three straight times. They won two out of those three in 2012 and 2013. The other biggest dynasty was the Golden State Warriors. They won in 2015, 17, and 2018. And that's really the last time we had a dynasty in the NBA was probably the Golden State Warriors um, at the end of 2019, because they made the finals in 2019, but they lost to the Raptors. So ever since then, in this decade, 2020 to 2026, we've had a different NBA champ each year. 2020 was the Lakers, 21 was the Bucks, 22 was the Warriors, 23 the Nuggets, 24 Celtics. Last year in 25 it was the Thunder, And this year it was the New York Knicks. So this decade has definitely been different than other decades. And we'll see if that trend continues or if one of these teams becomes a dynasty. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to share as far as my reaction to NBA Finals Game 5 and the fact that the New York Knicks are NBA champs. The NBA season is over. A little bit sad about that, but there's always next season. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some value out of this content. If you did, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Hit that like button and make some comments on your reaction to the NBA Finals and the New York Knicks winning the championship. See you guys next time and take care.